Alrighty, so BlueParrott finally decided to do a product design I actually been waiting for them to do for a while. Because if you watched anything I have reviewed at BlueParrott, I've always thought their headsets were quirky and a little too industrial. They weren't really coffee shop friendly, I guess is the best way I can put it, given that I'm always working in and out of coffee shops, which is why I love to review headsets, because I want to make sure I could perform in any environment basically. And so finally, BlueParrott came out with the M300 XT, which I'm pretty stoked about. It costs $99 retail, and I did buy this myself, of course. So let's get into the review and see if this thing is a worthwhile grab, especially for its new design. Now, of course, if you've seen any of my other reviews with headsets, the first thing I do is a microphone test. That's the highlighted feature or something like this. Anyhow, let's get into it. Let's see how this does. Okay, so now we're testing the BlueParrott M300 XT Bluetooth headset in a very loud coffee shop. It's 80 to 85 decibels, loud music, people talking. Really, really busy in here during the morning rush. Now we're gonna do the blender test. This is just in a NutriBullet, so it's not a fancy blender. It's just like the medium-sized smoothie one. So like a chainsaw, let it rip. All right. I'm even gonna talk while it's going just to see if it picks up my voice at all. All right, here's a test of the BlueParrott M300 XT in my office, just in a quiet room. I'll do a typing test on my computer just to see if anything picks up. This is just a laptop type. See if any of that picks up. So what do I think about the microphone quality compared to other headsets? Well, let's say the Jabra Talk 45, which is actually my favorite mono headset I've ever used. I think that's much better than this, especially at a cheaper price. I think I just had my hopes a little bit too high with BlueParrott because there are other headsets, some of the best, probably the best in the business. Not necessarily in how your voice sounds, but overall just in how much background noise they can cancel out for Bluetooth headsets. Now, if I were to compare everything, that's a whole different story. So with Bluetooth headsets, BlueParrott is like king of canceling out background noise. But they suffer with this headset. I think the microphones are just not designed well. It's pretty obvious to see in the hardware. I mean, it's just like two little holes and it don't even look like they did a good job on that. I mean, it works, but it's just not my favorite as far as how my voice sounds when it comes to picking it up on the microphone. So now that we got the main feature out of the way, which is the microphone quality, let's go over what it says the features are. So it blocks out 80% of background noise, which I think actually is pretty valid. Up to 14 hours of talk time, so that's another huge benefit of this design. You have a really long battery life, literally all day. Small and ultralight for all day comfort. You could wear it on either ear, push to talk enabled, dust and water protection. It's only 7 ounces in weight. So let's go into connecting two devices at once, which I think most people are going to do is they're going to do what I did is I had it on my computer and also on my phone. And I make lots of phone calls for what I do for a living. I mean, probably more than the average person. So I definitely test it out. And using it on my computer, I feel like when switching between my computer and my iPhone, I have a Mac and an iPhone just for reference. I feel like it was seamless. I didn't notice any latency even when playing audio or anything like that. It's just the only issue is make sure you stop whatever content you're playing before switching to another device. And then when you do that, it's like a couple seconds at best. And it knowing to switch to that other device that you're trying to play main content from. So whenever I was playing something on my computer or on my phone, just make sure you stop that content or end the call if you're on your phone and then switch to your other device to really make sure there's no latency and to actually feel that seamless experience. So I think they actually did a really good job on that. And now sound quality with this earpiece. I actually had to go to the small earpiece, which is not normal. Usually the medium or whatever is in the box fits in my ears perfectly. Luckily, I never really had to switch to earbud sizes. But this one I had to go to a small because when I was in a coffee shop the first time I tried it out, I had it just the way it is, thinking it fit perfectly. Luckily, I brought the box with me and I switched it to small and it created a way better seal and I was able to hear the person on the other line or whatever content I was listening to much better. So at first you may be thinking, oh, it doesn't sound that loud. It sounds kind of, muted or whatever. It sounds a little far away. Well, it's just because it's not in your ear all the way. And that's what I was thinking at first too.
So luckily, just make sure you test it out the way I did. Luckily, I did that so I didn't give a wrong impression in the review of sound quality. The speaker gets more than loud enough. So that's another major benefit too. There's a lot of clarity. You just won't be disappointed on phone calls, even in loud environments. Now, battery life, I didn't really test out 17 full hours of battery life, but let me put it this way. I probably make phone calls at least 6 hours a day, probably on average. Just having that on my ear on average. And it took a little over 2 work days, almost 3 in full, before this thing died. So I will say it's probably pretty dang accurate that it's 17 hours continuous use. Now, as far as wearing it on both ears, I didn't have any issues. I mean, whether it's on the left or the right, it's really easy to use. You just lift the microphone boom arm, twist it all the way around, and then level it down. And it's really that simple. Now, the biggest issue I had is I predominantly wear it on my left ear, whatever headset I have that's a mono one. And the thing about it is it's really rough to wear with glasses, or I can't say really rough, but it's definitely an inconvenience compared to other headsets. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just, it does feel a little loose because it's hard to really push it against your head. It's really hard to have that full looping effect. Even if I take my glasses off, see right now, oh, much better fit. It feels really snug against my head. And if I put my glasses on afterwards, I just feel it push out a little bit still. So no matter what way I cut it, it still just feels a little loose, like it's hanging off a little bit. Now, as far as the controls go on this headset, the thing about it is there's no media controls or anything. I mean, unfortunately, you're going to have to control everything through your main device. So if it's your phone or whatever, which I think even with truck drivers, which this is probably most geared to, it will be geared to people like me, office workers, etc., people who are construction workers. The thing about it is just be prepared to have to use your phone for pretty much most of the controls with content controls. So skipping, play, pause, this and that. But other than that, the controls by default on this are really simple to use. So you have your mute button with the BlueParrott button, powering on for 2 seconds. You have to reconnect to your device by turning it off and then turning the headset on again, doing the same steps to connect to a second device. And then after that, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about resetting it or doing it again. You press it once to answer a call on the power button. You hold it to reject a call. You press it once to access your voice assistant if you are not on a call, of course. And then that's pretty much it. Volume up, volume down. And I like that, but I kind of wish there was more flexibility in content and media controls, namely because I'm thinking about people who are driving around a lot. If they're going to have their phone on a stand or something, I mean, yeah, you can say, okay, they could just reach over and use their content controls when they need to take a break. But there's times where, somebody's talking to you, like let's say you work on a construction site or something, or even if you're in an office setting, where instead of taking the headset off, it would be nice just to quickly press the button in the middle to play or pause your content. So not the end of the world, but I don't know. It just really depends on what your situation is and how much you really care about the microphone quality, which is going to be the biggest selling point, I think. When people hear the microphone test on this review, I think that's going to be a make or break deal than controls on this headset. So actually, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say about that Forrest Gump style. And so hopefully this review was helpful because I think this actually was a real good contender for its design and just really the potential it has and what BlueParrott is coming out with. I think if you're going to get this, you're not getting it for the controls, obviously, like I just mentioned. You're getting it to really make sure you're heard on a call. Even if your voice doesn't come out as clear as other headsets, it will block out probably most of the noise than anything else I've heard with this style of headset. So I think if your concern is you're driving or are constantly in loud environments, that's why you would get this. I mean, that's what BlueParrott designs their headsets for. There's other headsets like I talked about. Plantronics has one with the Voyager 5220, I believe, where you hear your voice way better. Jabra Talk 45, you hear your voice way better. But I still have to do more testing on those compared to this. I think this is still going to block out more background noise. So that's the number one reason why to get this headset, is that reason alone. Again, it just really depends on your environment and what you're most picky about at the end of the day. So hopefully this review helped. I really appreciate you watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next video.